Political science. National power. Define national power. Discuss the elements of national power. Introduction. National power is an important component in international politics. Every state secures its national interests by asserting national power. National power is the means as well as the end. National power is defined as the sum of all resources available to a nation in the pursuit of national objectives. Etymological meaning. The word power is derived from the Latin word potestas and the French word pouvoir, which means ability or capacity. Various definitions. Hans Morgenthau defines national power as a psychological relation between those who exercises it and those over whom it is exercised. It gives the former to control over certain actions of the latter through the influence that the former exerts over the latter's mind. George Squeezenberger explains further. The power is the capacity to impose one's will on other by relying on effective sanctions in the case of non-compliance. Here he adds the idea of punishment in case of non-compliance. Organski explains national power as the ability to influence the behavior of the other in accordance with one's own end. Charles says power is the ability to make a man to do what one wants and not to do what one does not want. According to Hartman, national power denotes the ability of a nation to fulfill national goals. It tells us to how much powerful or weak a particular nation is in securing its national goals. According to Padelford and Lincoln, national power is the combination of power and capacity of a state which the state uses for fulfilling its national interest and goals. According to Hartman, power is the strength or capacity of a sovereign state. According to Karl Deutsch, by national power means the ability to prevail, to gain mastery in conflict and to overcome some obstacles. In short, national power is the capacity or ability of a nation with the use of which it can get its will obeyed by the nation. It involves the capacity to use of force or threat of the use of force over other nations. With the use of national power, a nation is able to control the behavior of other nations in accordance with one's own will. Elements of national power. Before discussing this, it is to be noted that every political scientist have emphasis on certain features of national power while defining it. For example, Hans Morgenthau emphasis on control through the influence or through the psychological influence. George Squeezenberger emphasis on punishment in case of non-compliance. Organski emphasis on influence the behavior of others. Hartman emphasis on fulfilling national goals. Paddleford and Lincoln emphasis on the capacity of fulfilling national interests. Charles emphasis on making others to do what one wants and not to do what one does not want. That means he emphasizes on getting desirable actions from others. Now come to the discussion of elements of national power. Elements of national power. There are different elements of power and national power as well. According to Morgenthau, national power can be divided into two parts. The elements of national power can be divided into two parts: permanent and temporary. According to Morgenthau, the permanent elements of national power are geography and natural resources, and the temporary elements of national power are military preparedness, national character and moral, population, diplomacy and government. Palmer and Parkins, or Larche and Said, or Columns and Wolff, etc., divides the elements of national power into tangible and intangible elements. According to them, tangible elements are geography, raw material, natural resources and population, and intangible elements are moral and ideology. Organski divides elements of national power into natural and social. Natural elements are geography, natural resources and population, and social elements are economic development, political structure and national moral. Here we may discuss the elements of national power by dividing them into three categories. First, physical elements like geography, population and natural resources. Secondly, socio-economic elements. Those are industrial strength, technology, military strength, organization and quality of government, diplomacy and leadership. And thirdly, psychological elements, which are ideology and national character and moral. Let's discuss them in detail. Geography. Geography is the most stable, tangible, permanent, or you may say relatively stable, relatively permanent, and natural element amongst the determinants of national power. In the opinion of Morgenthau, geography is the most important element of national power. Highlighting the importance of geography, Napoleon once said, "The foreign policy of a country is determined by its geography." To understand geography as an element of national power, we need to understand the importance of main 5 factors of geography. That are size, location, climate, boundary and topography of a state. First, the size of the land. The land area of a state is in itself an element of national power. A large territorial land can sustain and support large population, possess greater natural resources, provide better military advantage, and offer greater scope for industrialization. It is also difficult to conquer and control a large land. However, nowadays, in this world of technology and chemical and nuclear and biological weapons, size of a dis- size of a state does not have much effect on its defense system. For example, Israel, despite of being small in size, has a powerful defense mechanism. Again, if a large size country is lack of natural resources, have inhospitable climate and topography, it can also be a hindrance in development. For example, Greenland. Size of a country is not only the determining factor of national power. USA is more powerful than Russia despite of having smaller territory. Besides, countries like Japan and South Korea are mostly successful industrial countries despite of being smaller country. So, we may summarize the size of land as an element of national power as follows. Facilities. The large territorial land can sustain and support large populations like China, can possess greater natural resources like USA, can provide better military advantage like USA, China, and as well as India, can offer greater scope for industrialization like USA, and is difficult to conquer and control like USA. So, the examples of big and powerful countries are China and USA. Small yet powerful countries are Japan and South Korea. Besides, USA is more powerful than Russia despite of having smaller territory. The limitations of having large size countries are nowadays in this world of technology and chemical and nuclear and biological weapons, size of a country does not have much effect on its defense system. For example, Israel, despite of being small in size, has a powerful defense mechanism. Again, disadvantages. If a large size country is lack of natural resources, have inhospitable climate and topography, it can also be a hindrance in development. For example, Greenland. Next point, location. Location is more important than size. Location determines state strength as a land power. It affects economic and military strength. Location also figures the diplomacy and war. Location of England helped it becoming a big naval and imperial power. USA was able to follow its policy of isolationism due to its location, whereas location of Canada being so close to US has prevented it from being a superpower. In simple words, location affects economic strength, military strength, culture, diplomacy, and war tactics. Big naval and imperial power is England due to its location, or you may say due to its waterlocked location, and land power German due to its landlocked location. US's policy of isolationism due to its ocean locked location. Location of Canada being so close to US is prevented from becoming a superpower. Third point, climate. Climate is determined by location, rainfall, and winds. It shapes the health, energy, and culture of people, and thereby it is instrumental in shaping national character. For instance, almost all big powers are located in the temperate zones. Extreme heat or cold are alike unfavorable for energy capacity and strength. Climate is important for production of food, natural resources. Thus, it boosts economy of a nation. Cold Arctic zone and excessive heat of Sahara have prevented their development. Again, we may summarize it like this. Climate shapes health, energy and culture of people, and thereby it is instrumental in shaping national character. Climate is important for production of food, natural resources, etc. Climate boosts economy of a nation. To exemplify this, we may say that almost all big powers are located in temperate zones like Great Britain or France. Again, the disadvantage of climate are extreme heat or cold is unfavorable for energy capacity and strength, like cold Arctic zone and excessive heat of Sahara have prevented their development. Fourth point, topography. Shape of the land and topography are important. Mountains, rivers, oceans, desert determine the existence of ports or non-ports, access to different areas, development of infrastructure necessary for industry, export, import, transport, nation's security. Plain and artificial boundaries of a country can make it vulnerable to expansionism. Atlantic and Pacific Oceans have provided strength to the USA, while Himalayas are generally seen as protecting India's northern borders. So, topography have the effects as follows, like mountain, rivers, ocean and desert determines the existence of ports or non-ports, access to different areas, development of infrastructure necessary for industry, export, import, transport, nation's security, and plain and artificial boundaries of a country can make it vulnerable for expansion. For example, Atlantic and Pacific Oceans have provided strength to USA, whereas Himalayas are generally seen as protecting India's northern borders. Fifth point, boundaries. Natural and settled boundaries are source of friendly and cooperative relations among countries. USA is separated from the world by ocean, which makes it more powerful than landlocked nations. Unsettled boundaries are source of conflicts that weakens national power. For example, LOC between India and Pakistan is an extra headache for India. Again, the boundaries of two neighbor countries may also affect national strength of a country. For example, Iran is affected by Israel-Palestine conflict. Moreover, sharing boundaries with more powerful nations can also raise fear of being taken over. For example, India and China. So here in this chart, you can see the effect of boundaries as an element of national power. The second physical element of national power is population. The importance of population as an element of national power can hardly be exaggerated. Both quantitative and qualitative aspects of population are to be taken into consideration. A nation should have population large enough for the full utilization of its national or natural resources. The number of population of the age group of 25 to 50 years is important because this age group is capable to provide valuable source to the military and in the productive process of the economy. Population should not be large enough to make it impossible for the land and resource to provide necessary support. Factors such as age, sex, birth rate, health, literacy, culture, etc. are important determinants in shaping the quality of population. Actually, all these factors affects the productivity of a nation. Like healthy, literate people are considered to be more productive. Like male child is considered to be productive in heavy industries and female child is considered to be productive in delicate industries. Both quantity and quality of population may be a source of weakness and strength of a nation. Population of China is the source of its strength, whereas population of African countries has become its weakness. Again, Israel, USA, Japan are superpowers in spite of being less populated. Here in this chart, you may see the determinant factors of population which makes it important as important element of national power. Third physical element of national power is natural resources. Natural resources includes raw materials, minerals, and other agriculture products. Food and other agriculture products. A nation which is self-sufficient and rich in food and raw materials and minerals necessary for industrial production can be termed as a potential country capable of pursue its foreign policy more independently and ensure its national interests more effectively. Although it is to be noted that it may be a potential country, not surely a powerful country. During the age of Cold War, the then two superpowers, USA and USSR, enjoyed advantages in this regard. A state which enjoys superiority in the areas of fuel like oil, United Arab Emirates, for example, coal like China, metal, United States of America, and agricultural products, now India, including food, is powerful nation indeed. Morgenthau discussed the significance of natural resources in two parts, raw materials and food. Raw materials are further subdivided into three parts as follows. Minerals like coal in China, petrol in United Arab Emirates, iron, copper, zinc, manganese and other materials in USA, etc. Second, natural products like rubber, jute, bamboo, etc. For example, India and Bangladesh. And third, animal products like meat, egg, milk, silk, etc. For example, India and Bangladesh. Again, food. Food storage in India in 1950 and 1960s, that means before Green Revolution, made Indians dependent on food storage not food storage, food shortage in India. Food shortage in India in 1950s and 1960s before Green Revolution made Indians dependent on the USA or Western world. They use food aid as a tool to affect Indian foreign policies. Morgenthau once said, nations self-sufficient in food are better placed than nations which import foods. Food shortage in India in 1950 and 1960s made Indians dependent on USA. Western worlds used food aid as a tool to affect Indian foreign policies. Green revolutions in 1970 created food self-sufficiency and enabled India develop its national power. However, it is the country However, if the country is not modern to extract and utilize its national resources, like African countries, its national resources or natural resources would not be much helpful in gaining power. Here in this chart, you may see the facilities and limitations of national powers, which we have discussed just now. Fourth, industrial strength. Heavy industries are based upon coal, oil, steel, and other minerals, infrastructure, and technological know-how of its people. The great powers today, like United States of America, Britain, Germany, China, France, Japan, are those nations relatively well off these essentials, which is instrumental in the growth and development of nations industry. India, with the same raw materials as USA and Russia, is lagging behind in development because a less developed industrial sector. An industrial sector aids in extracting natural resources and converting it into industrial goods. The states rich in industry may acquire more military strength. The United States, having only about 6% of the population and 7% of the land area under the sun, has some 40% of entire world's industrial production, and this has earned for her a dominating and impregnable position. Here in this chart, you may note the facilities and components of industrial strength and technology. Next point, technology. A well-developed technological know-how enables human welfare and progress. Technology is significant for industrial development, military development, development of transport and communication, economic and social development. Information technology, nuclear technology, space technology, missile technology, artificial intelligence have emerged as an important source of power and influence in the international relations. The countries which are powerful mostly on the basics of technology are Japan, Israel, and USA. Military strength. Military strength is considered as a basic element of national power, along with the development of the technology of the manufacture and use of weapons. The military potentiality of a nation depends on various components, including skilled, trained, competent, dedicated, and disciplined armed forces like USA, quantity of armed forces like India, military budget like USA, Russia, and China, capability to produce highly mechanized weapons and on modern warfare like USA, development of highly specialized military techniques like Gulf techniques of Afghanistan, like Gulf technique of Afghanistan, effective and efficient military leadership like Abraham Lincoln of USA, Winston Churchill of Britain, Stalin of USSR, industrial potentiality like USA, the development of nuclear power like USA, India, space technology including space vehicles like USA, Russia, Israel, Japan, powerful rocket and booster system like USA, Russia, Israel, Japan, computer and other electronic and communication devices like USA, Japan, etc. 7 point, organization and quality of government. The quality of a government determines to great extent the shape of national power. It is the government that provides the ideology, moral and leadership of the people. It maintains a balance between material and human resources. It preserves national interest and formulates foreign policy. A corrupt and inefficient government wastes the natural and human resources and reduces its national strength and status in international affairs. For example, a strong, democratic, well functioning, and responsible government leads to good governance and increases its effectiveness and prestige in global affairs. A weak civilian government in Pakistan has led to failure of its economy and society. Diplomacy. Next point, diplomacy. Diplomacy is the device used to bring different elements of national power to bear with maximum effect upon these situations which concern the national interest more points in international field directly. Diplomacy has been described as the brain of national power. According to Montesquieu, the diplomacy combines different elements of a nation's power with an integrated and whole and provides them direction and weight. Quality of diplomacy is therefore highly important elements. A high quality diplomacy and uh, transforms the available resources into national strength. Britain has been successful in projecting itself as a national power despite of losing its imperial status post 1945. USA's successful diplomacy helps it in projecting itself as the sole superpower. Canada's liberal internationalism has helped it project the image of a good and trustworthy international actor. Here in this chart, you can see the political elements of national power. Number 1, organization and quality of government. The advantages of this element are: it maintains balance between material and human resources, it preserves national interest and formulates foreign policy, stability of government ensures the success of long-term policies, a strong democratic, well-functioning and responsible government leads to good governance and increases its effectiveness and prestige in global affairs. It is the government that provides the ideology, moral and leadership to the people. Example of good governance is India. Example of bad governance is Pakistan. Again, next point, diplomacy. Diplomacy is the device used to bring different elements of national power to bear maximum effect upon these situations which concerns the national interest more points in international field directly. Example of good diplomats: USA, Britain and Canada. An example of bad diplomats: Maldives and Pakistan. Third point, leadership. It is the leadership that directs national life within and without the national boundaries. For example, Germany has flourished during the reign of Hitler, whereas North Korea is suffering for its dictator leaders. Leadership. A strong and willed leader directs the utilization of natural resources, human resources, and raw materials to efficiency and competency. It is the leadership that directs the national life within and without national boundaries. A mature, devoted, and efficient leadership leads the country to progress and success. For example, Germany has flourished during the reign of Hitler, whereas North Korea is suffering for its dictator leaders. 10th point, ideology. These are psychological elements of national power. Ideology and national character and moral. Ideology. Ideology is an intangible element of national power. It can be a source of friendship or enmity between nations. The ideological war between communism and capitalism after 1945 led to the Cold War, with many countries joining alliance to safeguard their territories. India's pursuit of non-alignment movement, or NAM, enabled it to resist superpowers' dictates during the Cold War. The next point is national character and moral. It is also an intangible element of national power. National character refers to the traits, attitude, and aptitude of the people. For example, Indians are known for their tolerance, religious belief, and idealism. Germans are synonymous for their discipline and industriousness, and Americans for their inventiveness, initiative, and spirit of adventure. Morgenthau defines national moral as the degree of determination which a nation supports the foreign policy of government in peace and war. It permits all activities of a nation, its agriculture and industrial production, as well as its military establishment and diplomatic service. Building dams success in 1965 and 1960 building of dams success in 1965 and 1971 wars, growth of information technology, and a steady economic growth of India boosted its moral. And the defeat in 1962 war, imposition of emergency and unstable coalition regime post 1991 deteriorate its moral. Here in this chart, you may see the psychological elements. Ideology, that can be a source of friendship or enmity between nations, like ideological war between communism and capitalism after 1945 lead to the Cold War and non-alignment movement. And national character. National character refers to traits, attitude, and aptitude of the people. For example, we have already discussed all these examples. Again, national moral. We have already discussed these points. Now, conclusion. All these elements go hand in hand in determining a country's national power. National power is never based on any single factor, but a combination of all these elements under a set of circumstances. All elements are interrelated and interdependable. Moreover, several factors reduce the effectiveness of national power. For example, balance of power in international system, international organization, international laws, international morality, world public opinion, the principle of collective security and disarmament, etc. If you like this topic and discussion, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.